Peggy talked about this before. It's this idea of finding a person that will listen and hear what you're trying to say and understand it, asking the right questions and revisiting topics to truly try to understand who you are and where you want to go.
Welcome to One with the Other Way, a podcast about your journey and finances. I'm your host, James, and today we're going to talk about what exactly is a financial advisor, what is fiduciary responsibility, and about a little tool called FINRA's Broker Check. We hope you enjoyed the episode. Today we have our two financial advisors from Finances for Real Life. Together we have
Wanda
and Peggy.
Well, why don't we talk real quick? How was your Ironman with giving blood?
Pardon? What was that?
After you gave blood.
After I gave blood.
For all that are listening, Wanda, she gave blood and then ran an Ironman a week later.
Not my best choice, but on a positive, right? I want to say this on a very positive. Giving blood is very much needed in the United States and in the world. And here's my public service announcement. People, give blood when you see a bloodmobile. It does not take that much out of you. And even I completed a marathon, Ironman after giving blood. So you too can give blood. And it's important to help other people. It's a positive thing to make the world a better place. And I'm all about that.
I think we should also quickly note that while you ran a ultra marathon or a 100-mile race, after you gave blood, it is not recommended to do so.
No,
it is strongly discouraged by medical doctors.
I'm only encouraging to do the first part, giving blood, and then I did technically called an Ironman. It's about 3,800 meters, about 2.5 miles of attempting not to drown in a lake, 112 miles on the bike without falling off the bike, and very hard. It's a lot of ups and downhills, 7,000 feet of climbing, and then 26 miles without falling on your face. The last one was probably the easiest thing, but at night it was a little harder.
So it's more like it's an ultra triathlon, basically.
Yes.
Yeah, it's Ironman.
I think today we're going to talk about financial advisors and this idea of it takes all of us to get to the place that we want to go, I think is an important concept, whether it's an Ironman personal achievement like that, or whether it's finances for your real life. And I think we're going to talk about that today, right, James?
Yes. That's actually that's the whole topic today.
Mm-hmm.
We are talking about what is a financial advisor, and maybe even better yet, where there are murky waters in terms of what exactly is a financial advisor and what can be considered a financial advisor. And so, Wanda, if you kind of want to take it away, because I think we had previously talked about just definitional sense of a financial advisor. If you want to just briefly kind of summarize that.
I get carried away a lot in the definitions of things. And sometimes that acronym KISS applies, keep it simple, comma, stupid, right? So I step back and think about what a financial advisor is. And financial means finances, money, dollars. An advisor is someone who gives advice, counsel, suggestions, roadmaps, things like this. When you think about some of the things that are very near and dear to us, money is one of them. And a lot of people approach the money topic with fear. And there's a lot of fear in and around their money decisions. What if I do the wrong thing? And I was thinking that we really want to keep the concept or the thoughts behind being a financial advisor positive and in a spirit of love, willing the good of the other. Because in our role as a financial advisor, the best thing we can do is help people get to their best place and create financial plans that help them get to their best selves. Peggy talked about this before. It's this idea of finding a person that will listen and hear what you're trying to say and understand it. Asking the right questions and revisiting topics to truly try to understand who you are and where you want to go. This doesn't happen overnight. And you might meet someone and you can talk about stocks and equities and bonds and alphas and betas and all those investment topics. And maybe that's important to look when you're looking at a financial advisor, that they understand the basics. But most importantly, I think Peggy has a point when she says that they really have to understand you and where you are and where you want to go. Did you want to add to that, Peggy, or?
Well, you know me, I believe in the KISS thing. Um, so I think, we talk a lot, I think, in our practice about being holistic, like the whole package, as far as we're not just your broker. We don't just buy your securities. We do the whole thing. We do budgets. We do look at your whole picture, talk about your retirement, talk about your goals, what you want, that kind of thing. And I don't know if you want to bring this in or not, but we do have clients that just want us to buy their securities for them. But generally, we try to be more holistic and do the whole thing with our clients: budget, goals, where you're going, what you're doing. And I think that's really, for me, that's the definition of a good financial advisor. You can have a financial advisor that just wants to sell you things. That's not us. We're not a salesman. We're a fiduciary. And I think that's, for me, the definition of a financial advisor, somebody who does the whole thing.
I think one thing to kind of go into that is you use the term fiduciary, and I think looking at just like the stages of responsibility without going too complex, kind of what is a fiduciary, just for people who don't understand it.
So out of all the definitions, I think that's a definition that we need to put out there. A fiduciary requires an advisor to act in the best interest of the client and avoid all conflicts or interests, or fully disclose and manage all conflicts and potential conflicts. So this is a requirement to act in the best interest of clients.
Well, I think just to kind of explain that, so that's the definition, right? So what does that really mean?
Right.
So, right, that means that we need to be acting in what we believe is your best interest. So anything that we recommend to you, we believe that that is absolutely in your best interest. We have to manage conflicts. So if we have a personal interest in anything that we're recommending, we have to tell you so. And we have to make sure that that does not conflict with our doing what is best for you. So that's the managing conflicts. We have to disclose conflicts to you, and we have to manage the conflicts so that it does not conflict with doing what's best for you.
And I think something too to add is that if you ever are approached by someone who is claiming to be a financial advisor, a great resource for all those that are wanting to verify who they're talking to, a great resource is FINRA's broker check. And I'm going to add that to the show notes and the description so people can click it, so they can have that on hand whenever they talk to someone that is trying to offer them financial advice. It is a great resource to have.
So this is an important clarity. FINRA requires that if you're selling securities, as in equity, stocks, bonds, real estate investment trust, anything in the financial arena, that you're required to register with FINRA as a broker-dealer. But you do not have to be a fiduciary to register. It's that higher requirement of an investment advisor rep that is required, the fiduciary, a registered investment advisor. There's a lot of acronyms in this business, and Peggy has done a video about just some of the acronyms in the business, and so that might be helpful to take a look at. And maybe you can put a link in the show notes.
I will.
So the other thing is that if somebody's approaching you on financial advice, it is a good idea always to do an internet search on them, because there might be interesting things about them that you did not know, and go to FINRA. If a person is selling insurance as an investment tool, some people will sell insurance as an investment tool. Those people are not required to register with FINRA because they're not considered brokers. They're required to register with their state insurance commissioner. And that has a different standard, and they must be tested at the state level. So there are some people, right, that focus on insurance as an investment tool and a financial planning tool. Those people do not have to be registered in FINRA. They can just be registered with the states, and they do not have a fiduciary requirement as well.
Right. So I think I want to go back to what you said before about people offering you financial advice and fiduciary stuff. So yes, you want to check on broker check. It doesn't necessarily tell you if they're fiduciary or not, right? It tells you what they have the authority to sell, basically, right? Or to assist you with. And fiduciaries, there are other professions that also have fiduciary responsibilities. But if somebody's giving you financial advice, you definitely should check them on broker check because, like Wanda said, there's other information there. It's not just which things we have the right to sell to you, but it also tells if we've had any complaints against us, if we've had any judgments for misconduct. All of those things are also in broker check. And then you said about people approaching you with advice, and in this modern age with all the internet stuff and TikTok and all those things, people are giving financial advice, right? Well, we'll just put little quotes around that, to a lot of, oh, do buy this, do this, this is what I do. And okay, but those people you need to check. They're not necessarily qualified to give you that advice. They may be a lawyer, they may just be an influencer. They may not have any financial background. It might just be something that they did and either they got really lucky or it's working for them because of their specific life situation. And so you need to be really careful what advice you're taking. And, from those people, that old thing, right? You get what you pay for. You might want to really take that to heart when you're looking at TikTok to get your financial advice.
I want to talk a little to the point about TikTok and our self-regulating. So I want to defend the industry just a little bit. We are self-regulating, and this is true. One of the reasons that we're not on TikTok is because TikTok cannot be supervised and monitored to ensure we're not saying things that are not in line with our fiduciary responsibilities. It's the same reason why advisors could not text for the longest time, because advisor text could not be monitored. Currently now, we have a system where our texts are monitored and archived so that if an issue comes up later on, we can look to the tape, as it were, to determine what the text said or did not say. So in time, some of these things will become available to advisors. But in the moment, the reason it's not available is because it cannot be monitored to ensure that the right and the appropriate things are being sent out on the internet. So this is why, for example, right now, we are allowed to talk on Facebook because Facebook now has a system where what we say can be archived. And we're right now exploring Instagram, and we have some test cases to see if that can be adequately monitored. And you'll see more advisors join the Instagram world. We cannot be on WhatsApp because WhatsApp does not have the ability to do that. But who knows? In the future, these things might change. So it's this idea that our industry is trying to protect individuals from people not hearing information that might not be accurate or in the best interest of our clients or that population at large. Does that make sense?
Yeah,
a little defensive about my industry here. I can appreciate what they're doing.
no, I agree, and I think that it gets frustrating. I have experienced this frustration too, where sometimes you just want the answer to a question, and so you go looking for the answer to the question online, right? And then it's frustrating that there are people who are answering the question, but then when you go and look them up, they may not have the certifications or qualifications to actually answer that question. And it's frustrating sometimes that we can't just put out the answer to some of these questions, but because of our responsibilities, fiduciary responsibilities mostly, that we can't just answer the question. So I do understand the frustration, and we feel it too, that we can't just put out the answer to a question because it doesn't necessarily apply to everyone, right? So we can't just answer that question because maybe it's great for 5% of the people, but 95% of the people, that wouldn't be a good idea to do. So I think that that's part of the problem. We're in a place in our society where we feel like we should be able to get everything quickly, and we should be able to get it online, and hey, let's just Google it or ask Siri or ask Alexa. But that's not always possible.
Would you say that the answer might be good for 5%? It's more often than not, I think the answer is actually good for 95% of the people. And then it's that 5% or that 1% that it's not good for. That's where we get ourselves in trouble. It's that one person. And so, yeah, I would love to answer questions quickly.
Today, we talked a lot about a financial advisor, what our credentials are, and how to check those. And we gave you a lot of advice about taking free advice and looking on the internet. So, I think our biggest takeaway today is that you need to do your research and investigate your financial advisor, find somebody that you trust and somebody that is qualified to help you.
And we just appreciate you taking the time to listen to our podcast. Thank you, Peggy and Wanda, for being on the podcast today. So thank you for listening to One Went the Other Way. If you're interested in talking to us, please schedule a consultation on our website, financesforreallife.com. I'll put it in the show notes, as well as anything that we have covered in the podcast that has a link or a resource or a reference. So please check it out. Check out FINRA's broker check as well, also in the show notes. But yeah, thanks for listening, guys. Have a wonderful week, and we'll see you in the next episode. Securities offered through LPL Financial, member FINRA, SIPC. Investment advice offered through Finances for Real Life, a registered investment advisor and separate entity from LPL Financial. The opinions voiced in this podcast are for general information only and are not intended to provide specific advice or recommendations for any individual. To determine which strategies or investments may be suitable for you, consult the appropriate qualified professional prior to making a decision.